I want to give a shout out to the memesters, and in particular, a memester that I have started following very closely, the Second Amendment. And this meme says it all. It is Ron DeSantis. You see his mouth zipped silent with the zipper. And it's in the top right corner. It says DeSilence 2024. To my knowledge, Ron DeSantis he has not said anything, not released a statement. There are people trying to convince me that DeSantis' silence is actually leadership and competence. In fact, Bronchi tweeted, now that Fox is reporting Trump was just amplifying a rumor, here's what I know. With DeSantis, I didn't have to guess. I didn't need inside information. I just knew, based on his track record, that him holding his fire was the smart thing. Feels good to support competence. Silence can be competence, knowing when to be silent, when to speak. But number one, Trump didn't start these rumors. Trump gave the specific date of Tuesday, but these rumors were out before. They've been going for about a week now, and got hot on Friday when they release a lot of these bad, news that they don't want going crazy. They released it on Friday. Then Trump on Saturday came out and talked about those rumors. The only new thing that Trump brought to the table was the Tuesday date that I didn't hear anywhere other than Trump. So when Trump's people came out and said it was just a rumor, that's what they were saying. They were saying, well, it is. Nothing substantiated. They didn't contact us. So that first piece doesn't make any sense. Number two, who cares if it's a rumor or not? You can still speak on the possibility that this could happen. You should have been able to speak on this well before the rumors came out to get to this point. Leadership is not waiting until Trump's doing the fingerprints and handcuffs to go ahead and release a statement. And I bet his statement has no call to action. All peace, of course, but I'm going to play Vivek. After I'm out, I'm going to play about 7 minutes of Vivek Ramaswamy. I don't know much about him. Some things I've seen I like, some things I don't, just like with anybody else. But these clips not on DeSantis, these clips on what's happening with Trump, he is so on point. He's talking to me like a normal person. He said I was going to talk about some cultural issues. I'm doing these stops in North Carolina or wherever he's at. But forget all that. This is more important. Don't miss those clips. I'm going to get out of the way here in a second. But that's not competent. That's not competence. How are you trying to sell me that as competence at this point? Even if DeSantis released a statement and said, I'm not saying anything right now because of these reasons, that would make more sense to me. But let's just get to Vivek, and he had some great points here.
I'm campaigning in South Carolina today. It's our first day here. Went to Dorchester County earlier, going to other areas in Charleston later today. I was going to talk about a number of cultural issues in this country, but I find it pretty distracting to just focus on what I was planning to talk about without actually talking head on about the serious news we heard this morning. The risk that Donald Trump might be indicted while running for president of the United States for alleged violations that, if it were any other situation, would undoubtedly just be charged as a misdemeanor, if at all. This isn't to me about a person. I could care less about defending Donald Trump or any other individual out of some sort of personal affinity. Forget about that. This is about principle. It's about the country. It's about the idea that if you live in a self-governing democratic nation, a constitutional republic, it means that the people get to decide who actually wins the election. Not some managerial class, and certainly not a party in power that now uses, quite literally, it would appear, police power to stop their political opponents from running. That is wrong. That is not the America I know. That is not the America my parents came to. That is not the America that our founding fathers set into motion 250 years ago. That's the stuff of a banana republic. I think that's the stuff of the beginning of the end of the American experiment, if we allow our Justice Department to be politicized and people to literally use police power to persecute and literally prosecute their political opponents. And so I really hope that the dialogue around this today, that some self-reflection from the Manhattan District Attorney results in them making the right decision to say that, you know what, you oppose Donald Trump, great. Speak out against him, vote against him, do everything you can to stop him from getting elected. That's fair game, because that's how the electoral system works. But do not use prosecutorial power to disqualify your political opponents by locking them up and putting them in jail, because once you cross that bridge, if you could do it to Trump, you could do it to anybody. And I think that is a dangerous, slippery slope for us to go down as a country, especially if it involves particularly prosecuting someone for otherwise what an ordinary person would not have been prosecuted for criminally. It's wrong. And, you know, it's not in my interest to say this. I'm just going to tell you this. I was advised to stay silent on this. Probably the same advice that every other GOP candidate got, which probably explains why the other GOP candidates, from not Ron DeSantis to Nikki Haley, are staying pin drop silent until they get permission from their political consultants and their donors to say something. I could care less about that. I would rather lose and be honest about what I say at every step of the way than to win and be a hollowed out husk of myself and as somebody who wants to be a standard bearer of the principles of this country. This is not about me. It's not about Donald Trump. It's not about anybody else. It's about making sure that this national experiment, which we call the American experiment, still continues for another 250 years rather than beginning a decline with the dangerous abuse of political power.
Today was an important day in the country. So the reason I'm doing this is because the rest of the Republican field, I think, has been deafeningly silent about an important issue in the country today. Yes, I know it's St. Patrick's Day weekend. Yes, I know there's a lot of other issues in education or elsewhere that need to be addressed that others have talked about. But that's not the news of today. Okay, the news of today was that this morning we learned that it is likely that the New York Manhattan District Attorney is likely to indict a former president of the United States who is running for office. Now, I want to be very clear. I am in a presidential primary running against that individual, Donald Trump. But what I'm about to say has nothing to do with Donald Trump and everything to do with the integrity of an election and the integrity of a self-governing democracy. So I don't care whether you root for Trump or whether you don't. If you root for the integrity of our constitutional republic, then you need to be on the side of being really clear. We cannot have politically empowered prosecutors eliminating the opposition of a ruling party using arrest power. It is a sad day in America. It is a dark day in America if you have the ruling party in this country using police power to arrest its political opposition. That would be the beginning of the end as we know it. And I'll ask everybody here, wherever you are, on supporting Trump or not, I don't care. A thought experiment. Rewind back to 2004. Okay, if Bush and Cheney used police power in this country to arrest John Kerry for a technical campaign finance violation that normally would never have been charged, and if most as a misdemeanor, liberals in this country would have cried bloody murder. And you know what? They would have been right. They would have had a point, and I promise to you, I would have been standing there right there with them to say, even if John Kerry is not my man, this is not the way we run elections in this country. This is not the way we run a justice system in our country. Whether or not, whatever your politics are, we put principles first. And so the thing that disappoints me is I said that this morning as soon as I read the news. I didn't ask my political consultants or anything else. Put out a statement the fastest way I knew how. That was on Twitter. And I expected my lead Republican fellow candidates in this race, prospective or actual, to follow suit. Because this isn't about, we're running against the guy, that's fine. But this is about the principles. We should want to win not by eliminating the competition, but by actually earning the trust of the voters. That's what I'm trying to do, okay? What I heard instead was silence. And so the announcement I wanted to make tonight, to be crystal clear, is by tomorrow morning, I would like for even the beloved donor class favorites in this race, including Nikki Haley, including Ron DeSantis, to join me in calling on the New York Manhattan District Attorney to abandon this political persecution through prosecution. It's a very clear statement. Either you're on that side of actually avoiding that political persecution as prosecution, or you're not. And if you're not, that's fine. You better explain why. But I think the Republican voter base, the Republican primary voters, the conservative movement deserves transparency. It deserves candor. And if you're not going to stand up, then you need to step out of the way We need to stop being fake in our party. We need to stop being beholden to a donor class that, as we speak, is being asked for permission to say the things that we're saying. The GOP actually needs to liberate itself from that donor class and start speaking candidly to its base again. Teddy Roosevelt said, "Speak softly and carry a big stick." Well, right now we have leaders in this party who are willing to speak loudly, but when push comes to shove, they carry a small stick. Teddy Roosevelt is rolling over in his grave, but no longer. I'm going to be very clear. It is a challenge. It is a demand that I make upon my fellow candidates running in this race, Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley included, to clearly come out and state whether they join me in a call to that Manhattan district attorney to abandon a political prosecution that, if they do, that will be good for this country, and if they don't, that will be the beginning, I think, of the end of much of the American experiment as we know it for a generation. We can't afford that. Please join me in that movement and calling for justice. Thank you. Thank you.